It was an eyesore. Racist Karen burned my tractor. She didn't know I'm the State Fire Marshal. Fire is a living, breathing thing that demands respect, a primal force that can warm a home or destroy a legacy in the blink of an eye. And no one understands the dual nature of flame better than I do. My name is Chief James Smoke Patterson, and for the last 20 years, I have served as the State Fire Marshal, the highest-ranking arson investigator in the region. To the public, I am the man in the white shirt who shows up when buildings mysteriously explode. To my family, I am the keeper of Patterson Farms, a beautiful 80-acre homestead that has been in my family since 1945. My grandfather bought this land with his GI Bill money after World War II, fighting for a country that didn't always fight for him, and I have spent every weekend of my adult life restoring the vintage equipment he used to till this soil. But to Victoria, the president of the Royal Meadows Homeowners Association that had recently sprawled like a concrete virus up to my western fence line, I was nothing more than an uncooperative nuisance. Victoria was a woman whose personality was a volatile mix of boredom, malice, and aggressive racism. She viewed my farm not as a historic landmark, but as a stain on her subdivision's pristine view. She hated the smell of fresh-cut hay, she hated the sound of my rooster, and most of all, she hated the sight of my 1970 Massey Ferguson tractor, a bright red, fully restored piece of agricultural history that I parked proudly near the barn. To me, it was a tribute to my father. To Victoria, it was industrial blight. She had spent 6 months trying to bully me into joining her HOA, claiming that because my driveway easement touched their private road, I was automatically a member. I refused, citing my deed which predated her development by 50 years. When legal threats didn't work, she turned to harassment. She filed noise complaints. She sent drones to hover over my porch. She even told my neighbors that I was running a junkyard and lowering their property values. But her obsession with the tractor was singular. She called it a rusted monstrosity and demanded I hide it in a barn. I refused. I told her, that tractor stays where my father parked it. I didn't tell her I was the fire marshal. I didn't think I needed to flash a badge to live in peace on my own land. That was a mistake. It was a dry, windy Saturday in October, a red flag, warning day where a single spark could ignite the whole county. I was inside the house, reviewing case files, when I heard a whoosh sound, followed by the crackling of dry timber. My stomach dropped. I didn't need to look out the window to know that sound. I grabbed my extinguisher and ran out the back door. The scene that greeted me was a nightmare. My beloved Massey Ferguson, the tractor I had spent 3 years restoring bolt by bolt, was engulfed in flames. Thick black smoke billowed into the blue sky. And standing there, just 20 feet away on the safe side of the gravel driveway, was Victoria. She wasn't calling 911. She wasn't trying to help. She was standing there in her expensive brown wool coat, arms crossed, with a smile of pure, sociopathic satisfaction on her face. She looked like she was admiring a piece of art, not watching a felony in progress. I sprinted toward the machine, but the heat was too intense. The fuel lines had ruptured, and the diesel was feeding the inferno. It was gone. I stopped, chest heaving, and turned to Victoria. "What did you do?" I roared, the ash stinging my eyes. She didn't flinch. She just smirked, adjusting her collar. "I cleaned up the neighborhood, James," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "I told you that thing was a fire hazard. It looks like it finally, spontaneously combusted. Maybe now you'll build a proper shed like the bylaws require." She was gloating. She had committed arson in broad daylight because she believed her status as HOA President made her untouchable. She assumed I was just a helpless black farmer who would cry about his loss and move away. She had no idea she had just lit a match in front of the dragon. I didn't scream. I pulled out my phone and dialed a specific number, not 911, but the direct line to the regional dispatch commander. "This is Marshal Patterson, badge number 101, I said, my voice cold as ice. "I have a code 3 arson in progress at my residence. Suspect is on scene. Roll the battalion and send the sheriff." Victoria laughed. "Marshal? Oh, please. You're a landscaper. Stop pretending." The sirens started wailing within 2 minutes. They didn't sound like normal sirens. This was the heavy cavalry. 2 engines, a ladder truck, and the battalion chief's SUV screamed down the road, lights blazing. Victoria looked confused. "Why are there so many? It's just a tractor." When the trucks skidded to a halt, the firefighters didn't run to her. They ran to me. Battalion Chief Miller jumped out of his SUV, ignored the fire for a split second, and ran to my side. "Chief, are you okay? Is the house clear?" "I'm 10-4, Miller," I said, staring dead at Victoria. "The tractor is a total loss, but we have the arsonist in custody." Victoria's smug smile faltered. "Chief, what are they talking about?" I walked over to my truck, unlocked the toolbox, and pulled out my official jacket with the gold badge and the bold lettering, State Fire Marshal. I put it on slowly, zipping it up while staring her in the eyes. The color drained from her face faster than the water from the hoses hitting my tractor. "You see, Victoria," I said, stepping into her personal space. "You didn't just burn a tractor. You committed first-degree arson on the property of a sworn law enforcement officer. You ignited an accelerant during a red flag warning, endangering the entire community. And you confessed to it a moment ago." I didn't mean," she stammered, backing up, tripping over her own heels. "It was just a nuisance abatement. The HOA bylaws say. State law supersedes your bylaws," I snapped. I turned to the sheriff's deputies who had just arrived. "Deputies, place this woman under arrest for felony arson, criminal mischief, and reckless endangerment." The deputies didn't hesitate. They cuffed her right there in front of the burning wreckage of my heritage. She started screaming, "I'm the president. You can't do this. He's lying. It was an accident." But the accelerant traces on her gloves, which I had bagged as evidence immediately, told a different story. The fire investigation was the shortest in state history. I recused myself officially, but my team found the gas can she had tossed in the ditch with her fingerprints on it. The fallout was catastrophic for her. Victoria was charged with a Class A felony. Because of the drought conditions, the judge threw the book at her, 10 years in prison. The HOA was named as a co-conspirator in the civil suit because the board had officially voted to remove the tractor by any means necessary in their meeting minutes. I sued the HOA for $2 million in damages, emotional distress, and punitive measures. They went bankrupt. I used the settlement money to build a massive, state-of-the-art barn to house my new collection of vintage tractors, and I dedicated the building to my father. Every time I drive my new fire-red tractor past the now-defunct HOA sign, I think of Victoria's smile as the flames rose, and I remember that if you play with fire, you better make sure you aren't standing next to the man who holds the hose. Victoria thought she could burn down my heritage and hide behind her HOA title, but she learned that you never start a fire in a fire marshal's backyard. She wanted to clear a view, but she ended up clearing her schedule for a 10-year prison sentence. If you think arsonists and racist bullies deserve to rot in jail, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, what is the craziest thing an HOA has ever tried to make you remove from your property? I want to hear your horror stories. Subscribe for more stories of ultimate justice. See you next time.